being able to maneuver the horse and stop on a mark. He wants to live a life of adventure, and he can't, in good conscience and good honesty, not feel like a hypocrite and say, you have to stay. I have had this feeling that something's off here the whole time, and I have to assume that this is all legit and that she is a criminal.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Heart in Motion podcast. I'm thrilled to welcome back to the podcast Lachlan Quarmby. How are you doing, Lachlan?
Thank you very much for having me. I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Are you ready to talk about the season finale of Hope Valley 1874?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. All right, so we find Alexander, who's been out. He comes back into town. There's a lot that has transpired. A lot of theft that's happened. There's been some investigating that's already going on. A good foundation is laid, and it's time to go after, which we find out is Jeremiah. So the chase is on. That chase after Jeremiah, what did that sequence demand from you physically and mentally? Because I know a lot of times there's your part writing, your part involved, there's a stunt double. How did that all play out for you?
Yeah, there's I did a lot of writing on in that chase, like a fair bit, more than I was probably expecting to do, just because the nature of being in those tight like woods, like those are very sort of narrow. There's one road which is kind of wide, but there's some very narrow sections, and for the story to work, you had to be going quick over roots and stuff like that, and they just don't want to risk me doing it, even if it is in a straight line. So I was very happy to see that they got a stunt double in to do a couple of those really, really fast through tight turns type thing. But at the same time, there's plenty of stuff where I got to do it as well, and I really felt like a culmination of, like I said, I haven't ridden much before this at all, and so it felt like a culmination of my own skills coming forward and being able to maneuver the horse and stop on a mark and then take off, saying lines while we're riding and things like that. And plus, Ben was out there as well doing it with me, so that was really fun that we both got to kind of giddy up.
It was a great way to wrap up the season with that kind of Mountie action. Fun to watch it all execute. And, we've heard from directors that have film scenes like that for When Calls the Heart that there's a lot that goes into a scene like that. So I wanted to see,
Yes.
your involvement in that. So.
Yeah, and they had drones up in the trees. They had like a few different cameras going, and it's credit to Martin, our director, who just has this uncanny like vision that he's honed over years of experience of just knowing what pieces he needs and then not doing anything more than that. And it just is so efficient and saves so much time. Yeah, he was great for that whole 2 days. I think we shot that for.
So the mystery is solved. It's time for the big event at the boarding house.
Mm,
Alexander steps up and asks Olivia to dance. She said to her mom, she's looking for a sign as to what she should do, if she should
yeah.
go to Toronto or not. So she confides in him about art school.
Mhm.
And to kind of give the cliff notes, he kind of tells her that she should go. But we know it's very from that supportive place of he really believes in her talent. So it's a bittersweet moment for him. What's going on underneath in that decision for Alexander?
I just pictured what it would have been like for Alexander to tell his parents or his family, siblings, whatever, loved ones back in Toronto that he wanted to go to the frontier and be a tracker and eventually become a Mountie. But essentially, he wanted to go to the frontier and not look back. And he says a couple times throughout the series that the frontier, he's really enamored with it, and he wants to live a life of adventure and be outdoors. And so I can imagine that at the time he went through a very similar thing that Olivia's going through, but just from the other side of Canada, right? So all of the people saying to him, "Oh, maybe you should think about it," or the one saying like, "If that's your dream, you should go." In as much as it sinks his heart to know that she's going to leave him and he might not get to see her every day, he would just he can't, in good conscience and good honesty, not feel like a hypocrite and say, you have to stay.
Mhm.
Because he did the exact same thing. So he's really kind of struck with some turmoil. And he probably might have explained that to her if he was given a chance.
Because Clayton is feeling the pressure and interrupts and steps up to also dance with Olivia. And his response is a bit different. He's really trying to sales pitch her. He's supportive of her, but sales pitch her on the idea of her staying because of what she
Yeah.
means to the community. So, if you're looking at it from Alexander's perspective, what does he offer Olivia that Clayton doesn't?
I think it's tough because I think it's good writing. I really have enjoyed this love triangle playing through because I do think that you are well within your rights from an honest, like non-judgmental point of view to be Team Clayton. I can totally see that as being a good choice. And I think that you can also see Team Alexander as a good choice as well. And I think that's good. That's just a sign of an interesting thing. And we were trying to execute what we were going for, to have two perfectly good options. And what a great way to show the juxtaposition between the two men at the end there of her putting forth this dilemma to them and then both having very different responses. Like it's interesting. I think Alexander can offer her maybe a bit more of that touch of the unknown that she seems to be craving. Maybe there's a bit of a wilder heart to him. But then Clayton has so much to offer as well that just makes so much sense. So yeah, I really don't know.
Well, this triangle's been really interesting to hear kind of the chatter out there, people that are watching the show who also watch When Calls the Heart, because
Okay.
people pretty much, the minute that there was a triangle, they picked a side and they stayed. And
Okay.
this season, people are literally going back and forth from episode to episode. So I
Mhm.
think Alfonso has accomplished so far what he set out to accomplish. I mean, not that he didn't with the other one, but this one
Yeah.
is playing out way different than the other triangle did.
And I feel like some people might switch sides again after the finale.
Well, that
Oh.
was one thing that Roan shared. She says, like, I wonder if it'll change after. But I think, from both of them come at it from their heart and and they want what's best for her. And I think that's important to remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a really tough decision at the end where Rebecca's past has caught up with her. And our other Mountie, and now I'm drawing a blank on his name. Help me out.
Nick.
Nick, that's what I was going to
Mhm.
say. Nick shows up. I love that Alexander said, basically just says, let me do it, because we see that soft side of him where he cares for the community. He's got that heart in him. So, how did you approach showing that restraint and protecting her that way in that scene? Because I thought it was a pretty powerful moment.
Yeah, it's a whirlwind of having to make very, very quick decisions that he would really much rather have had time to think about. But he gets told this bad news from Olivia that he has to go and juggle what his internal turmoil is there. He's got the prospectors in his ear. Over in the corner, being like, "So how's this gonna work? Jeremiah's gonna pay us back. Who gets paid back first?" And they would like doing all these bits at me in the corner. I was like, "Just leave me alone." And then this dilemma comes in, and as soon as he sees that warrant, he sees that it's legitimate, but he still doesn't want to believe it. And he checks in with Nick. He just looks at him like, "Are you sure?" And gets that kind of confirmation of like, oh, I have had not a bad vibe from Rebecca because he does like her, but I have had this feeling that something's off here the whole time. Now I have to put my Mountie hat back on and I have to assume that this is all legit and that she is a criminal. Have to assume that she's wanted, but I also know that she's a good person, or at least she's been good to me. So I don't want you to walk over there and arrest her in front of everybody. I'm gonna do it. So he turns, I'll take care. I'll go. I know these people, go across. And then you can't really tell, but the music stops playing. And Alexander I shot a look at Nash, just like, oh, why did you do that? We could have maybe made this like a contained, quiet thing, but then all eyes go in, and now it's like, oh, everybody's watching. I have to do this. But again, he has to quickly assume they don't know what I know. And I'm reading this piece of paper that says she's a criminal. She's wanted for something pretty bad. I'm gonna have to do this and we'll have our day in court. Um,
I think we're seeing a very wise constable for, being straight out of Mountie school. I don't, there's an official word for it, I'm sure.
yeah.
But it's been fun to watch, because in that moment we caught like that whole, there's so many things that are pulling at Alexander right now and having to deal with all of them at the same time. And it really let us see he's good at this job. It'll be interesting to see because we're crossing our fingers for additional seasons, how that continues to play out. So,
Yeah, and I remember feeling it was I remember feeling in the moment in the character as I left. They don't cut back to it, but as I left, I shot a look back and every single member of that community was looking at Alexander with like a kind of crestfallen expression.
yeah.
And I just remember thinking, any goodwill that he might have accumulated over this time may have just gone up in smoke, and he may be back to, even within his own community now, be back to square one for unfortunately trying to do his job and feeling a bit like the bad guy. So that's why I was saying some people's team opinions may change after the finale for many different reasons.
Well, we're crossing our fingers that we'll get an announcement soon about season two and that we'll be able to see how this all plays out. So many interesting storylines for us to continue to watch. Lachlan, thanks so much for taking the time to talk about the season, talk about season eight. It was exciting, like I said earlier, to find out you were going to be a part of this project. And it's been such a great season. So I appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, that means so much to me. Genuinely, I really, really appreciate that, Stephanie. Thank you. I'll talk to you anytime.
Well, I want to remind everybody that's tuning in right now, you can continue, you can go back, you can watch Hope Valley
Mhm.
1874 anytime on Hallmark Plus. Watch it on repeat. Check out Providence Falls while you're there too, if you haven't seen Providence Falls, because
Yeah,
it is also fantastic. So,
another cop and another accent.
and another accent. There we go. All right. Thanks so much, Lachlan.
No worries. Thank
All
you.
right. Bye bye.